Hey guys, have you ever wanted to weld aluminum but you don't have a fancy AC TIG machine or even a spool gun? I'm going to show you the quick and easy way to convert your MIG welder into an aluminum welder. Stick around. Now, I'm not going to go into the specifics about how to change out your liner on your gun to the graphene liner because every machine is different. A Lincoln welder is different from a prime weld welder. But I will tell you that one of the easiest ones to do is one of these Euro styles. You simply unscrew this ferrule, pull out your old liner, get a graphene liner, push it back in, and crimp it down. I will tell you though, it's really helpful if you can just buy another gun and just keep it set up with the graphene liner instead of taking it out each and every time. That way you're always ready for aluminum. You don't have to switch back and forth, but you don't want to run MIG wire through your graphene liner and contaminate it. And you don't want to use the aluminum in your regular MIG gun because it'll contaminate the aluminum gun. But I'm going to try to get through this video. I've been wanting to make this now for quite some time, and every time I get started on it, something happens. My battery's dead, a customer comes in, I forgot to go get aluminum wire. So I think I've got everything ready today, but I'm going to show you a couple of quick things and then we're going to get started. One of the things that you want to make sure that when you change your graphene liner, this is my liner right here. All right. You want that to be as close to these drive wheels as you can get it without being pinched by the drive wheel. That's going to minimize the chance of getting a big bird's nest of aluminum wire in here. Also, we need to change out the drive roller. So the one that I have in here is set up for MIG. It's the V groove. You want to get one that's let me see if I can get a close-up of this. See, that's the U, and it even says on there U right there at the end. I'm using 0.9 or 0.035, so I'm going to go with the 0.9. And you see it's got that U right there, and it says 0.035 U. So that is the U groove that you need for your aluminum. That's pretty much everything that you need. Now, you won't be able to use regular MIG gas. You will have to get argon, but that's no problem. I'm going to show you a trick on that too. So like I said, you won't be able to use your regular MIG gas for aluminum. You're still going to need a tank of argon. And this little tank right here is called a 40. I call it a pony keg, but it's a little tiny thing, and it comes with this little black handle on top. You can get one of these at your local welding supply full of argon for about, I don't know, 75 bucks maybe. It's not a huge investment whatsoever. And this little tank will last you a long time when you're doing aluminum. Obviously on my TIG machine, I've got a big bottle this size, but I don't have to change it near as much as I do the MIG gas. But while I'm changing out this hose over to the other tank, I want to show you these pictures of a of an aluminum mailbox post that I repaired a couple days or a couple of weeks ago. It was in one of these fancy neighborhoods where everybody's mailbox has to be the same, and these are like really fancy cast aluminum mailboxes. Well, the lady across the street was backing out of her driveway and backed out a little bit too far and ran into this guy's mailbox. And you know, she admitted that she did it and she was going to pay for it and everything. So it's no big deal, really. But with the prep on the mailbox and doing the work and then clean up and everything, I bet I wasn't even there 30 minutes. And with the $200 service call and $100 an hour, I was there 30, 45 minutes and I made 300 bucks. And so that was a pretty cool deal. All right, so on our argon, we've got our hose over to our argon. And for our settings, now we're going to go with about 30 on the flow. And the machine, we're going to do about 19 volts and about 350 inches per minute. Okay, for my machine, I'm using the Yes Welder DP200. You don't have to have a fancy one like this. You can do this with nearly any MIG machine. Case in point, Brandon Lund has a video on his channel where he goes through showing you how to change the liner, and he's doing it on a older Hobart MIG machine. But this one just happens to have some settings for aluminum, so we're going to go in through the menu and choose that. Now for this one, I'm using 4043 wire. 5356 goes through the gun a little bit better because it's a stiffer wire, but 4043 is kind of like the general purpose wire, really easy to use and will bond to nearly any other aluminum out there. So it's already changed my gas to argon for me. So I'm using straight argon. I am using 0.035 wire. And let me see, our material that we're using here is a 1/4 inch. And, tell you what, I'm going to change it back down to 3/16. We are going to use 2T. And for MIG gun, we are using MIG gun. We're not using spool gun because this has a port for the spool gun, but we're not using that. We're using the MIG gun. And for gas check, I'm going to hit that. I'm going to open up my bottle. Remember, when you open up your bottles, open it all the way till it seats on the other side. I'm going to hit my button and I'm going to come down to between 30 and 35. Okay, pulse, I've got it turned off. And we're ready to go. 25 and 413 is pretty hot. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to manually change this down to 19. Well, it won't let me go that low. Oh yeah, it will. 19, and I'm going to go to about 350. Going to move this back up to about 19. That's where I'm going to try it to start. So let's do a test, see how it does. I did want to share this tip with you, and this was a tip that was passed down to me from somebody, and I'm going to pass it down to you. And I do this whether I'm using a MIG gun or a spool gun. But before I lift my hood up, you got your little wire stick out, bend that over the nozzle. Because when it comes out and it makes contact, I think the theory is that uh, it will burn up this part instead of going up this side and going into your nozzle and fusing to your nozzle. So before I even start, or before I even lift my hood, I always just reach that over and just bend it over. It's a great tip and it'll work every time. Now, before you start welding it, you want to treat this like you would any other aluminum. You want to brush it in one direction with a stainless steel brush only. Don't use another brush that you've used on some metal, on some ferrous, but just brush it. You don't have to kill it. And then you want to wipe it down with some acetone. So I've already got this piece tacked up on the back. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to MIG this piece all the way across right here. Let's see how we do. And bend your wire over your nozzle. Wow, that looks fantastic. Let me brush this down a little bit. Get some of that soot off of there. I'm going to let this cool a minute and then I'm going to show you a close-up of it. So while we're waiting on that piece to cool down so I can pick it up and show it to you, I know that you couldn't see my puddle, and I know everybody's going to scream at me, I can't see your puddle. Well, I can't do that with this camera. So I'm just going to draw this for you. So what I did was I did sort of like a whip and pause. So the first time I pulled the trigger and it made contact with it, it made a puddle about like this. So my wire was like right in the middle of that. So what I did was I moved my wire to the edge of this puddle and then I let it make a puddle. And then I moved it to this edge of that puddle and it made a puddle. And then I moved it to that edge and it made a puddle. And then eventually it just kept on going and you get that cool stack of dimes look that you want. And stopping and pausing and letting this melt was probably digging in probably about this much into the base material every time I paused. So it's not only does it look good, but it's a pretty efficient weld. Okay, so that's what we wound up with on this example. You see there, the stacks are pretty uniform. Looks good. I probably could have gone a little bit slower so that the rest of it looks like what it does right here where they're overlapping. Let's try to do another one real quick, see how it does. A little cold on this end. So let's do another one. Okay, so we got a new piece. I've already tacked it on the back. I'm going to set it right there. I did brush it with a stainless steel brush. I did the cardinal sin of not wiping it down with acetone because I'm out of acetone. And that goes back to me saying that every time I try to do this video, something's going to mess up. Or I'm not going to have something, but I'm just going to plow through because I've been trying to get this done for a couple of months now. So this time I'm going to go a little bit slower. I'm going to let those edges of those puddles wet out a little bit. Okay, so this time I did a little bit different. I did a little weave up, back and forth, up and down. I didn't do the whip and pause. Let me do a whip and pause really fast. I can just grab a couple pieces here. I'm not even going to brush them or anything because I just want to show this to you really quick. Let me tack the back. Okay, so this time I'm going to do a whip and pause. I'm going to go forward, stop, go forward, stop, go forward, stop. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm going to let these two cool and then show them to you in just a minute. Okay, so this is the first one that we did, and this was, it started off cold, but still, this is a, acceptable repair situation. This is the second one I did, where I did more of a, I did a whip and pause, but I paused a little bit longer to let it wet in. And that looks pretty good. And then this one was the one where I went, back and forth like this. And you can see that that's a pretty good weld right there also. Paused a little bit too long right there. Kind of boiled it out, but that's all right. I'll take it. So that's the one that I went back and forth, kind of like a weave. And this was the longer pause, which that turned out pretty good also. And this was the first one I did where I didn't pause long enough, and I got it kind of cold down on this end when I wanted it to look like this. But that's okay. I'll take all three of them. So the point that I'm trying to get across to you is, even if you don't have one of those expensive AC TIG machines, you can still use a MIG welder to do aluminum. The only thing that you got to get is a little argon tank. And like I said, go to your local welding supply, try to get one of those little pony kegs. I think it's a 40, size 40. And that will last you a long, long time. I fill that up and I bring it with me on jobs like that mailbox. And I've gone to a farm, a horse farm, and welded up a crack in an aluminum trailer. I've gone to the marinas to fix people's aluminum trailers. Doing aluminum and being able to do it on site where they don't have to bring it here to my shop really makes me a lot of money. And you can see the results that you get are pretty decent. And so I run this machine on 120 volts power source. So I use my Vulcan Outlaw 195 welder generator as my power source, and I just plug it into the 120 socket. I'm running 19 volts on the machine, 350 inches per minute with my gas on around 35. And you can see what kind of results you get. If you're trying to weld on a bracket on a trailer, a hinge on a trailer gate, You know, something for an aluminum trailer, anything like that, where you don't necessarily have to use TIG. I've used it on docks, aluminum docks, you name it. But when it is something precision and you need a very good looking result, obviously you're going to want to use TIG. And with TIG, of course, you have to have a AC machine to do that. But anyway, I hope this helped you out. Changing out that graphene liner is not really that hard. And again, I didn't want to get into the specifics of doing that because every gun's going to be different. But the Euro style, if you've got one of those, change it out, put the graphene liner in there and set that aside and only use that for aluminum. Once you've got that, all you got to do is take off your other one, put your aluminum on, change your spool of wire, and you're going, you know. And your gas, you got to change your gas. But anyway, if you have any questions, please comment, let me know. Let me know if you learned something from this or if I'm just wasting my time. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, and watch for the next video to come out. Y'all have a great week, and we'll see you in a couple of days.